Turkish people who are citizens here, they write, they give them cash, and they have each one of those citizens write some amount like under $200, let's say, to a particular candidate. Even though that money didn't come from those U.S. citizens, the money came from Turkish embassy, and as long as it was under 200, they can get 500 Turkish people, each one write $200. So that's one of the ways they do it.
Okay, that answers my question. If a PAC gave campaign contributions to a member of Congress who was a sponsor of the Armenian Genocide Resolution, then you're pretty certain that would not be a PAC that got any money from the Turkish government?
Objection. Foundation.
Excuse me?
Foundation.
Oh, I think that you testified earlier in response to Mr. Marino's question. I think he was asking you to speculate a little bit that one of the ways in which the Turkish government was able to obtain promises and influence against resolution, which you identified was the concern, was that they would invariably extract ironclad promises from members who were going to receive their money, that they would vote in particular ways. They would do the bidding. They didn't leave that open to chance, so that they would not give money to a candidate or to a member of Congress who wasn't pledged to oppose the genocide resolution. So I'm really asking, I guess I can ask it in a similar language, that is, if a PAC did give money to members of Congress who were sponsors of the genocide resolution, then is it your conclusion or opinion that PAC was not receiving any money from the Turkish government?
Objection. It's incomplete hypothetical.
That would be impossible to guess, because Armenian genocide was one criteria, but there were other criteria also, and that included, as I said, the criteria that were related to the weapons purchase from the United States, and which general in Turkey is going to get a cream of this thing, then who's going to get what money. So there were, as I said, the Armenian genocide was one of 3 or 4 criteria that they considered and honored in order to give money, or not only money, it was also other ways of giving position in a certain company to the son of certain congressional person, or keeping certain things secret, or etc. So that was one of them. Armenian genocide bill was one of them. So maybe I'm saying in a hypothetical situation, that particular candidate may be a sponsor of Armenian genocide, but on the other 3 criteria that is extremely important, or 2 other criteria, that person or candidate may be doing important, very important, giving an important favor to this. So I can't tell you. Just depends on the situation. Or that candidate may be in a or incumbent maybe on a very sensitive committee in Congress or Senate, and in the position of obtaining some very important classified information they may want. So it can be other things under that scenario that you just discussed.
Right. So they look at a variety of criteria, and even if they don't satisfy all of them, they may get some money because they view some of the issues as more important than others.
Maybe.
Okay, just a short break for 1 second.
Sure.
Going off the record, the time on the video screen is 14:48 and 7 seconds. Going back on the record, the time on the video screen is 14:49 and 32 seconds. Please continue.
Ms. Edmonds, have you ever been called as an expert witness in any litigation?
No.
Have you ever been called to testify at a committee hearing before Congress?
Yes.
And what hearings were those?
I don't recall. They're all available on the House website.
Mm-hmm.
And I have had several testimonies during hearings on whistleblower legislation. And also, I believe it was House Government Reform Committee that I was providing testimony on for civil liberties related issues, excessive secrecy and classification. I believe that was the title 2005. You have to look at the website for house.gov. I don't remember.
I think you did testify about your knowledge of the Armenian genocide, the resolution. Have you ever read the Genocide Convention of 1948?
No.
Have you ever read the U.S. Genocide Statute?
No.
Do you know what the elements of genocide are?
Not technically.
So you don't know what the elements of genocide are. Do you know whether or not the United Nations has ever voted a resolution that endorsed the Armenian genocide claim?
No.
Do you know whether Great Britain Parliament has ever endorsed the Armenian genocide claim?
I am not sure about Great Britain.
That's the only question I'm
Yeah.
asking right
No.
now. No. How about government of Sweden?
I don't know.
Do you know the author Bernard Lewis?
Yes.
He's at the University of Princeton, correct?
Yes.
He's written voluminously about the Middle East. Is that your understanding?
I can't make any comments answer about Mr. Bernard.
I'm just have you read? I'm only
Yeah,
asking
it
about
is.
things
Yes.
in the public domain.
Yes. Correct.
He's been a White House consultant.
Yes.
Do you consider him a person of stature in the community of scholars?
No.
You don't commit. Why do you not place him into that category?
I have my own personal reasons. They're based on my personal opinions.
And why is that? Why is it that you do not view him in the category of scholars in the Middle East?
Because I consider objectivity as one of the criteria for being considered scholarly and reputable, and I don't believe he is he's not agenda-driven. I believe he is not objective. That's my personal opinion.
If you were hiring faculty at the University of Princeton, would you not hire Bernard Lewis as a scholar?
Objection.
I don't know. Depends on the situation.
Speculation.
She speculated on whole sorts of things. Are you aware of the outstanding trials in Cambodia for the atrocities of Pol Pot?
Not the details.
Is it your view that what Pol Pot did was genocide?
Was it genocide?
Mm-hmm.
I would consider it a genocide.
Do you know that, in fact, there have been none of those who are on trial have been accused of genocide?
That they haven't been on trial?
No, they're on trial right now.
Correct.
They're not being charged with genocide.
Okay. Life is not
Now, I want to go through a list, and maybe we can add more, of the persons that you identified to Mr. Mannion that had committed crimes, either related to bribery or stealing classified information or otherwise. And my list was Mr. Roy Blunt, Mr. Tom Lantos, Mr. Dennis Hastert, Mr. Dan Burton, Mr. Stephen Solars, Mr. Robert Livingston. Are there other current or former members of Congress, to your knowledge, who have also committed crimes that have not been, none of these members have been prosecuted, but have also committed crimes that have not been prosecuted?
Based on definition, possibly one.
And who is that?
The lady we just talked about, Congresswoman.
But that would be the only addition you would make?
Based on my knowledge with certainty, yes.
Now, what about, I think it's fair to say, in the executive branch, you identified Mark Grossman as someone who's guilty of a crime. Are there any other individuals in the executive branch who you know are also guilty of crimes of bribery, selling or leaking classified information to obtain a benefit?
I think the witness identified activity she believed to be criminal, not that they were guilty of criminal activity.
Well, if there's criminal activity, somebody has to commit the crime. It can't be a crime in the abstract. You have to have a defendant.
Guilt is a legal determination. It's not whether you committed an act that's wrong.
I understand. I'm asking, bribery, I assume, when you mean bribery, you're not using that in a colloquial sense that means something that you didn't like. Bribery is a specific element of crime. Just like if you accuse somebody of murder, you don't get to decide what murder is. That's defamatory if you don't have any foundation.